Over that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the morning movie chat. I am your host Trinity. Thank you all for stopping in to the Second Street Marvel today. As we're going to talk about some movies, some different news and things going on out there in the world. I want to start by saying thank you all to everybody who is here in the live chat who shows up to watch me flap my gums about things that I, for the most part, probably just pretend to know about. And I also want to let you guys know there are some links at the top of the description here if you want to go and send some direct donations to the channel or even become a Patreon member, because these live streams are brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters. And, thank every single one of those people who is there. And today we are using StreamYard, so I don't have their names and their graphics to show there across the bottom of the screen. But thank you all so much for being here. And today we have our awesome guest. We've got LB from the Lonely Banter here with us today. How are you all doing?
Well, I'm one person, but you can call me y'all if that's all right. Y'all are doing good over here.
Sometimes I get too used to using the word y'all, and yeah, I don't know. I can't help it.
It's all good, man. You sounded like a Florida man almost. Y'all.
I know. I'm close. I'm from the Midwest originally, so I guess maybe that somewhat counts. Maybe I'm from Kansas. I live in California. Maybe that makes me a Florida man.
Hey. You can make up. I mean, people make up anything these days, so yeah, you can be a Florida man.
All right. So how are you doing? How are you doing, man? How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. I had a very interesting week beefing with Eminem stands. So that was
Are they worse than MCU stands or DCEU stands or anything?
Honestly, they're by far the worst. I've never ever dealt with something like this before since I've been doing YouTube. By far, it doesn't even come close, man. It's like, look, there are reasons you're a hater. You're a Nick Cannon fan. You're a Lord Jamar. You're like Lord Jamar. You're racist just because you criticize Eminem. All right, yeah. They're the worst.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I was gonna say, I seen your reaction video to that. Ended up getting ratioed pretty hard. I was just like, damn, man, like these people. I bet you know what? It's one of those things. I bet you if you would have went out praising the album, saying it was really great, you probably would have still got ratioed. They would have probably still come out here and be like, "What do you know about rap? What do you know about Eminem? You's a black man."
Yeah, they're a different breed, but hey. Like I kept telling, they kept letting me know in the comments, hey, look at all the dislikes you got. Hey, I don't care. I got all these views. You keep coming back to comment. So you're engaging with me. That's a positive. I don't know who told you that getting dislikes is a bad thing, people, but it's not. I don't care.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know, just how people react and stuff like that, and people say like, oh, you got a bunch of dislikes. That must mean that you suck or something's bad. I don't understand that.
Yeah, man. They told me to delete my channel multiple times. They've told me to jump off cliffs, end my life, all kind of things. It's like, okay, people, whatever you say, it ain't that serious.
Yeah, man, people are crazy. So let's see who all we got in the chat here. We got Vlad Riot says, hello, Second Street Marvel. Man, the parade in LA yesterday was awesome. I missed the parade, man. I'm more of a homebody. I usually chill at home. We got
That's
Dylan's
smart.
Comic Book Rant says hello. Wookiee Supremacy is here, says I'm back on the twatters. Eli Grays here says, hey, Trinity, and the community, been a crazy week with my family and stuff. Dad doing great post-surgery, and I appreciate the well wishes, and shout out last time I was on. Glad to be here this morning for the live stream and conversation. Well, I'm sure we're all glad to hear that your father is doing good at post-surgery. That's definitely a good thing. I know going into those things, it's kind of hard sometimes. It kind of reminds me of God, what was that scene in that movie? Was it The One? Have you ever seen that movie, The One, with Jet Li?
I have actually.
There's a scene in there which is a pretty funny scene where he's getting ready to go into the little, oh man, what's the big thing called that they put you into to scan you and everything? I can't remember. But you have to take all your metal and everything off, and he's sitting ready to go there and get into that, and he's sitting there, gives all his wife all of his stuff, gives her a hug, and the nurse there in the room, she rolls her eyes. She's like, oh God, like you're just going in for like this CAT scan. It's not, major life surgery. It's like, but still, like, you never know. I mean, you still want to be well with your loved ones. I mean, hell, you never know. I mean, if it's a bad diagnosis, just in those few minutes, what's going through one's head, you know what I mean? So this kind of makes me reminds me of something like that. But like, I mean, a lot of times it's really serious stuff.
Sounds like it.
We got Kobe for the love of movies. That guy, I think you guys should definitely go check out. Gary North is here. I am True Skills. Lord Callis, what is up, my brother? How are you doing? We got Captain Pennsylvania here. Eli Grace says, it's because they are stands for a guy who has a song about a stan. Hip hop existed long before Eminem. Certainly.
It did?
He's the godfather of it.
Wow. I thought it started in 1999 with "Hi, my name is."
Oh, let's see. We've also got Cousin Angel from Yonkers says, I'm a big hip hop fan. Eminem became played out after his second album. I will say, like, I like the first two albums. I think his third album is when I really kind of started to fall off, because that was the Eminem show, was it not? I
think whatever had the red cover.
Yeah.
I think it was that.
I think that was the one. Yeah, that's where I kind of started to fall off too. And really, once I think that was that the same album with Superman on there.
Oh man, Superman was my jam.
Yeah, see, and I think it was on that album where I started to fall off, because I'm like, okay, he's starting to cry on his albums now. Like, okay, we're like he should have started off crying. He would have started off with the crying. I would have been okay with it, but I don't know. After that, it seemed to go downhill a little bit.
The Eminem show, yeah, that was from that. But man, like, I know this is a movie chat, so before we end that, like, I feel like I know Eminem sells because people. I don't want to bring race into it, but he's white and he's a rapper and he's the biggest rapper, white wise. But like, I feel like a lot of people say they like kind of fell off of listening to him after the Marshall Mathers LP and the Eminem show. Now, I hear a lot of people over the years say that. But they don't want to hear that kind of stuff. He's like, look how many albums he sold. So?
Yeah, I don't know, man. People are weird when it comes to things, But
yeah.
So a couple things before we get into any of the in any of the movie talk regarding Bad Boys 2. I've seen that there's a couple of topics that have taken off here lately. Apparently, there are rumors going around now. I'm not sure if you heard about this, that Patrick Stewart actually met with Kevin Feige about possibly, and we're guessing about possibly bringing in the X-Men and Professor Xavier into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Have you heard any of those stories yet?
I have not actually, sir. So this is breaking news to me. Wow, the morning chat with the breaking news. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, apparently it turns out that and I don't really have a an article or a scoop on this or anything, other than what I've seen from Josh over at the Den of Nerds. He did a video about this yesterday, but apparently not too long ago, Patrick Stewart had met with Kevin Feige, and we don't really know the details of that meeting or anything. But naturally, of course, everybody is going to expect that this means, and it's confirmed that Professor Xavier, Patrick Stewart, is going to be returning as Professor Xavier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I don't know, I haven't done a video or anything on it, but I mean, I guess that's some pretty big news. What do you think about that? I mean, would you be hyped to see Patrick Stewart come into the MCU?
I wouldn't mind it, but it's like, man, it's kind of like, I mean, we don't know how they're going to do the X-Men. So, like, if we're going to speculate, I mean, for me, it depends what angle they take the X-Men, because otherwise it'll be kind of confusing. Because he's been in how many movies? The 6 movies, and he was in Days of Future Past. He was in the Wolverine, the first Origins one. So, like, how would we go with this? And then it's funny that this coming out, because remember a couple months ago they was talking about making Professor X and Magneto black or whatever. So it's like, oh, he met with Kevin Feige, confirmed Professor X is back in the MCU as Patrick Stewart. But I wouldn't mind it. I thought he was great as Professor X, and like, for me, that was my Professor X.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and the thing is, like, he kind of really, I mean, he embodies the character. I mean, not only just because like he's a great actor, but like he looks the part. You know, he really does look the role. I mean, and I mean, he's got the look. And I'm not obviously they didn't design this character in the comic books off of him. But then you see, you know, you go. I mean, you can go back and look at the rich history of comic books and look at him and be like, wow, like when they originally did those first X-Men movies, he was really well cast because he looks the role. He can do everything that I think even the role demands. Even like right now, they've recently kind of rebooted the X-Men in the Marvel Universe in the comic books, and even what they've done there, like he still fits that role. But
Absolutely.
it is kind of funny though how the new character, the new Professor Xavier in this, you know, this soft reboot that Jonathan Hickman has done, is he kind of like the character actually kind of looks like James McAvoy and him both at the same time. Like they changed a little bit of his facial features and he looks a little more McAvoyish. It's kind of crazy.
And you know what's crazy? Like watching the animated series on Disney Plus, it's like I knew it came before Patrick Stewart, but it's kind of jarring hearing a different voice for Professor X.
Yeah.
And then like I know James McAvoy, like he's not a bad actor at all, and I don't think he played the character bad, but it's just like, man, he's just not Professor X to me. Patrick Stewart is Professor X.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about it too. And you know, I don't know. I mean, I would be pretty excited to see him come in and do an X-Men movie. And you know, Josh over at the Den of Nerds kind of had a great theory about how he thought it would go if they were to do that, without it being too fan servicey, but also like without also bringing in, you know, the confusion of all the old X-Men stuff and then moving forward. And it was a pretty good scenario that he had set up about even bringing like Hugh Jackman in as Wolverine, just pretty much bringing them in for one movie to help set up the future of all the movies. That is, if they can even, it would be great even if they brought like McAvoy and Fassbender back as well, to reprise their roles. And he was, you know, had laid out this whole scenario about bringing them into Battle World and just doing the whole, you know, like I think it was the whole Secret Wars thing. Was it Secret Wars? I think it was. And he just kind of set up a whole scenario. I'm like, man, that actually doesn't sound too bad. And I think that actually sounds like a great logical way to bring them in, is kind of bring them in, do this, how would you say, like a crossover event type of thing where, you know, they're battling, you know, all kinds of stuff happens, and then they end up back on Earth with like the multiverse and everything. They could end up back on Earth to a different time or a different point in the Marvel Universe, where most of our core characters are the same, but then all of a sudden mutants are present, and then, you know, maybe it's we also get a younger Professor Xavier and Magneto and Wolverine and things like that as a kind of way to set those kinds of things up for the future of that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind like a proper send off for the last cast, because like Dark Phoenix, yeah, whatever. But like, I'm just thinking if they brought back the original cast for like a movie too, it kind of, I mean, for me it might like cheapen Days of Future Past because they kind of got a proper send off in that. But you know what? I don't care. I'd be all in regardless because I love the X-Men.
Right. Yeah. And I was gonna say, I'm not too picky about it. And plus, like, I mean, the only people that would really be confused about it are people like my mom, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, who watch the movies and like the movies, but are kind of like, what's going on here? Like, they got this, they got that, and what are we doing here? But like people like me and probably yourself and a lot of the people here in the chat, you know, we see that going on in the movie, like, ooh, great, this is really cool. Like, you kind of, you know, yeah, it's a touchdown. You're like, we get a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. And I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool to see him come in and reprise that role, kind of hand the torch off to somebody else. And I mean, I don't know that Feige has met with James McAvoy, but we know that if that meeting happened, oh man, rumors would definitely be starting to swirl.
I mean, just think about it. Like you said, for people who's general, just watch the movies, they don't know. But it's like, just think about the mid-credit scene of Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm not spoiling just in case you haven't seen it, but just think about how hype everyone was for that.
Right.
If that happened in the MCU movie, like another MCU movie, like for Patrick Stewart or somebody, people would go insane.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was bad enough when we seen J. Jonah Jameson pop up, like that was like, oh, like even me, like I know the difference in all these worlds, but I see that post credit scene pop up, and like I'm telling you, I almost crapped my britches, man. Like that was.
I purposely avoided spoiling it just in case someone hasn't seen it. And here you go. This
Ah,
guy
it's
here.
that was clear. That was clear back last year. That was last year when that happened. It should be good by now. Let's go ahead and say what's up to some other people we got here in the chat. I see we got Captain Pennsylvania and Maverick Pilgrim, some of our awesome Patreon supporters. Eli Gray says the Sugar Hill Gang is an American hip hop trio. Their 1979 hit "Rapper's Delight" was the first rap single to become a top 40 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. That is from the Googles. Yes, and let's not also forget. I mean, what was that other song by Blondie that came out back in the day that was
Yeah.
um, a lot of people consider that too. I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, especially when you go back and kind of take a look at the history, kind of where it evolved from. I mean, some would probably go back and say that it came from old soul music and
I saw
things like
Eli.
that.
I saw Eli post that. Hey, Eli, I just had to let you know I was just messing with you when I said who that.
Let's see. Maverick Pilgrim says the Apple Dumpling Gang. Oh man, I forgot I got this thing over here.
Yeah,
Thing over here. I'm not used to using StreamYards where we can actually highlight.
it's right
Uh,
there.
where we can highlight these things. Cousin Angel of Yonkers says, "No, I want to forget about the Fox X-Men."
Man, speaking of that, like I love the original trilogy, and then I love First Class and Days of Future Past. Well, I like First Class. I love Days of Future Past, but the original trilogy, I love it. But it's like, man, after watching the animated series, I can legitimately see why people do not like the original trilogy.
Right. Certainly, yeah. And as I say, I haven't. I've only watched a couple of those episodes since that's been on. Just been so busy with stuff. But I'm gonna take some time and sit down and watch more of those to have. I guess to have more things to talk about on some of these shows and stuff. Because yeah, I watched them and I remember watching them thinking like, man, these aren't quite the same I remember them, but they're still just as awesome. You know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Comics expertise says I would like Patrick Stewart as Professor X again, but realistically, he's too old to play it for another 20 years or however long. And I completely agree with that. I mean, he is getting up there. Of course, we got James McAvoy who could easily do it for another 10 years or so if they did do a crossover event like that. Although I got to say, I do think that it would cause some confusion if they brought all those old characters back, even some of the younger ones like Fassbender and McAvoy to come in and play those roles. I don't know. What do you think?
I I just think they should just move on. So they're not confusing so many people. But like I said, if I see them pop up on the screen, I'm going crazy. If they announce them as cast for a movie, I'm going crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Eli Gray says it's because Jackman is considering Wolverine in the MCU. Thanks,
I'm,
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, that would certainly be pretty cool. But I think when it comes to Jackman being Wolverine, he's one of those. I mean, and I kind of feel this way about the Patrick Stewart thing too. Is like they've kind of run their course. Jackman said he's done with the role. I honestly don't want to see Jackman come back to the role
I
either.
agree.
I think he's a great actor. I think he was great as the Wolverine character, but I think it's something that's kind of ran its course, and I'm sure he probably feels the same way. I think it's one of those things that it's time to move on. It's time to move forward to. But however, if they did, and I think again that comes down to the confusion with just casual fans. But I think if they did a movie where, say, they brought him in as just like a cameo role after they already have established a Wolverine character in the MCU and then brought him in as a cameo, I think that would probably have a little more pop and flair than just him coming in just on basically launching off the character in the MCU.
I'm with you. I want them. I don't want him back. I want a new Wolverine. I want a Wolverine, someone that fits his character. Like you said, Daniel Radcliffe, like he would fit Wolverine. Someone like that would fit this actual character. Like, because what? Hugh Jackman's like 6'3". Wolverine ain't 6'3".
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know that was one of the big things that a lot of people had a problem with back in the day when he was coming out. Like it seemed at first like a lot of people were cool with the movie, and then it seemed like I mean it wasn't too much later after the movie came out at the theater and everything where it started. And of course social media wasn't as definitely wasn't as prevalent back then, but people didn't seem to be as upset. But people were still kind of mad that Hugh Jackman was there, and he doesn't like he looked the part, but he's too tall and all those kinds of things. I don't know.
and he took over the X-Men.
Yeah, I think sometimes we look a little too much into those things, and I do. Yeah, and just like you said, I think that is one of the bad things, one of the downfalls of the Fox X-Men when they were doing that was they leaned too hard into the Wolverine thing and made him such a big character, which is fine because I mean he's one of the most popular characters that Marvel has in their comic books, but it seems like they pushed that too much to where he overshadowed any of the other characters.
Yep. And like even changing storylines to fit him. It's like, man, it don't. This is not the X-Men. It's not Wolverine and the X-Men people. This is X-Men. Make it X-Men.
Right. So yeah, I think that would be cool though to see Patrick Stewart coming back as Professor Xavier. Like I said, even if it's just for a small little cameo role, kind of get the ball rolling on the new X-Men universe and things like that. What would really be crazy is if they did like these just like small cameo roles, like kind of where they're maybe even just on camera and never really say anything, almost maybe kind of like a tip in the hat to the crowd without actually saying or interacting with anything, and then later they come into the MCU not as not those versions of the characters but actual versions of the character. I think that would probably be something that would probably be exciting, but it probably also piss people off as well.
The beauty of this thing is like with the X-Men and then like having Doctor Strange, all this stuff, like this cosmic stuff, they can do whatever they want to bring these characters in, and I really look forward to seeing how they do this. They just better not say the X-Men was there the whole time and they was just chilling. No, that's not gonna work for me.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say, and that's kind of how I feel about that too. Is like you better not just bring them in like out of yeah. And I kind of feel the same way like about the Fantastic Four as well.
Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, the Fantastic Four was in space during the whole MCU, and then the X-Men, they saw everything going on, but they was like, nah, I can't be seen in the public because we're mutants. No, that's not going to work.
Aggressively relaxing here says you just get all the Cyclopses in a room and let them bid for the job like in construction. Well, since they're bidding for jobs like in construction, I want to ask you aggressively, does that mean that Mando gets to come in with his khaki pants and kind of help put in for the job as well? Oh, he's back in the Hickman comics. Dropped a single tear from my eye. Yes. So, gosh, and what other news was there? I just heard, man, I can't even remember. I put it on the thumbnail. Oh,
Spider-Man.
Yes, the Spider-Man. Now, apparently, there are some rumors going around about a new some Spider-Man locations going on there for Spider-Man 3. Have you heard any of those rumors going around?
I have not. What I mean, the next Spider-Man, scheduled to come out 2022? Let me double check.
I think from the article, I thought it was saying. I thought it was originally supposed to be 2022 because they never made that announcement on the MCU Phase 4 slate. But again, I think they did a lot of that because Spider-Man's not their character, and I think at the time that was at Comic-Con where Kevin Feige kind of knew things were going a little bit running a little bit rough there and wasn't completely sure about the future there with the character.
Yeah, July 16th, 2021.
Okay, yeah, as I say, I thought it was supposed to be next year that they were saying, but I didn't want to say anything too for sure and make myself look like a fool.
So yeah, they're definitely location scouting because they'll start shooting that probably January at the end of the year.
Yeah. So apparently this story had broke. Where I seen it was I think I seen it on what was it? It wasn't we got this covered. I didn't go there first.
I hope not.
Yeah, right. Here's the thing is like what kind of ruined it for me was where I seen this story where I first heard of it from was over on Cinema Blend. And Cinema Blend, like I don't know that they're a place that has actual great like inside sources or anything like that. But the one thing is, it seems like they've had some pretty good stories come out. They've seemed like they're a pretty reliable source. But then I went and I read their story, and they got this story with these scouting locations and everything from comicbook.com.
Yeah, Cinema Blend is like a few levels above. We got this covered.
I
They
think
just
so.
they just post stuff. That's all they
Yeah.
are.
I think they are that step above because they seem to report a little bit more reliable information. But then when I read this and I seen that they were using comicbook.com for a source, I'm like, oh man, like
Yeah,
comicbook.com, they're not the worst of clickbait sites, but it seems like over the past, man, I want to say maybe the past year or so, it seems like they've really dove into like to the whole clickbaity thing, and I'm just kind of like, man, where did they go wrong here?
I mean they went wrong when they got bought out. I think CBS owns them.
Really?
Yeah, man, like a lot of them sites they got bought out by the corporations and they just turned into clickbait SEO type sites.
Ouch.
It,
Yeah,
it,
that's pretty rough because, like I said, I mean, it seemed like before they used to be a good place to go to comicbook.com. You go there and you could read the articles, and they talked a lot about comic books and the comic book movies and just other nerdy things like that. And it seemed like it was a pretty good source for getting information from. And then I noticed, I want to say it may have been a little less than a year ago, I started seeing some of my friends and everything, and another Facebook comic book YouTubers thing that we do on Facebook, where they like some of the guys in there were posting stories from comicbook.com, and I'm sitting there reading them. I'm like, holy crap, like this is like clickbait garbage, man. And I'm not saying that they're all clickbait garbage. I'm sure it seems like they're a company that has some sort of sources, maybe not all the best ones, but like they seemed somewhat reliable. And then I started seeing some of these stories coming about where, I mean, they're comicbook.com talking about actual comic books, and their information was like god awful. I'm like, ugh, like,
yeah, it's
yeah.
bad, man. It's bad. It's a shame. I mean, it's a shame where like you would think it would be nice to have a legitimate like comic book movie or comic book source website, but there are none. Like they all start out trying to be legit, but then they realize they can't win being legit, so they go out and start turning into these clickbait websites where you could post anything and anything because that's what movie MCU and DC fans want. They want anything at all times.
Right. Yeah, and getting back into this whole Spider-Man scouting location, and here we got a Duda Reviews. Thank you so much for being here. Says that they actually one of the production places was rumored to be Iceland. I know I also seen like Atlanta, New York, L.A., and I couldn't remember if San Francisco was on there or not. Was the Bay Area on there? I can't remember what all cities they had on there, but I certainly know Iceland was one of them, which is an interesting one when it comes to Iceland, because I guess they've got I guess like a vast array of different landscapes that could be used for movies, and I guess it's not the first time that any MCU film has filmed there, as Thor: The Dark World had done some production there, and I'm sure they've probably done some of their other movies there as well. But I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder where they might be going with Iceland, because one of the rumors they were running with was Kraven the Hunter.
Iceman confirmed for Spider-Man 3.
Oh
Iceland.
man, I'm not even going to go on there and speculate on that, especially considering what they've done in the comic books as of late with the Iceman character or anything like that. I'm not going to get into it because all I would be doing is be playing into clickbait hate, that people want to see out there, and I guess that's what YouTube's all about these days.
Yeah, it is. But we're not those people. We're positive people over here. Well,
Man,
I'm positive on your channel.
Try to be as much as possible. Try to be as much as possible. Aggressively relaxing. And I want to say what's up to a few more people that have come here and joined the chat. We got General Zod has come into the chat. Thank you for being here. Aggressively relaxing. We've also got a Duda Reviews. Sith Lord is now here. Gary North. And I think Gary North has been here. Been in here for a while in the chats. Comics Expertise, who has been in here. We've seen some of his comments. Echo Based Network, thank you so much for being here. And gosh, who else have we got new in here? It looks like that's it right now. Firewater Effects, thank you so much for being here. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know Firewater Effects. I've been seeing him on Mad Max's channel and everything like that. And he's going to be on the show on Friday on the Trailer Park Live. So make sure that you guys are subscribed and have your notifications turned on and everything. We're going to get in and talk with Firewater Effects on Friday. Should be a great conversation. And we also got Fanjecture. Looks like they had just joined in the conversation.
Nice. I look forward to seeing your Firewater FX on Friday. So you better bring your A game.
I'm sure he will. I kind of, I've kind of been bringing people in on the Trailer Park Live, and guys, maybe next Friday, not this Friday, but after Firewater Effects, but maybe next Friday, we might have a guest on that's going to be a little more controversial. Might get me ratioed. Might be one of my first videos to get ratioed when I bring that guest on. Depending on, but I hope certainly my audience will keep an open mind to the guest that I may have on next Friday night.
Can we get a teaser?
Ooh, I guarantee you, it's somebody that a lot of people out there in the community knows. It's somebody that has kind of been is kind of locked in this this fan war out there that's been going on. I would hate to say Fantifa or anything like that, but that would definitely give a hint as to who it is. But don't worry, guys. It's a conversation. In case you guys don't notice, I don't like to bring a whole lot of drama here on the channel or anything like that. I honestly talk a lot about that stuff, like people in fandoms fighting with each other, and I think a lot of that's pretty pointless. You know what I mean? One thing we need to do is, and that's one thing I tip my hat to Mad Max the Mandalorian is he started off doing a lot of that, fighting in the fandom, fighting the other fandoms, fighting against, against the fandom menace, fighting against, the Raylo shippers. I mean, just in the sense that, in the commentary that he did. But lately, he's been doing a great job bringing people together to have great conversations to get past a lot of that. And that all starts with just having conversations and getting to know who each other is before we get into all the, just any of the talk about the fandoms and stuff like that, because I think that's where a lot of it comes from is, it seems like a lot of people are out there just wanting to fight in fandoms as opposed to just being fans.
So I have to ask you, have you seen Mad Max's latest video then?
Ooh, which one?
He did one about Josiah Rises. So his peace treaty has been violated or ended.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did watch. I was watching some of that stream last night. I seen some of it as I was getting ready to go to sleep. Yeah, I seen that, and I guess part of the thing is I get what he's saying, because right there in that particular instance, I don't feel like there's a difference between directly going out and fighting with somebody directly, and I don't think that he was necessarily going after him in a bad way, but to me it was he was more commenting on the content that he was making, and I guess the what was all involved in that content, because I was watching the video and I'm sitting there Max, why are you making me watch this video? Because now you're making me want to go watch it on my personal time and do a commentary and reaction on a channel that I don't even really watch their content. But the video itself, as I was sitting there watching, I kind of feel like I have to make a video about it at this point, or talk about that at some point, because the subject of the conversation is something that I have been keeping up on, something I've actually been, I haven't done any reviews of the Captain Marvel comic book, but I've been reading it, and I can certainly speak on it from a point of view that I know what the hell I'm talking about, as opposed to just getting on and reading some clickbait article that is written to perpetuate outrage, to get people like Josiah to make this video over on Geeks and Gamers. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not against watching Geeks and Gamers videos. I'm just not subscribed to them because they don't do enough consistent content that I like. But after seeing that on Max's channel last night, I'm Obviously, I've got to come out and say something because I have been reading that series, and that's what I talk about, here on the channel. So at some point, I'm going to sit there and watch the video and do a video about that.
That will be interesting because I didn't watch the video. I just saw that my ex posted something about him, and I was like, hell, so much for that. I'm living a peaceful life on YouTube now.
Yeah, and see, for me, part of it too is like when I go to do the video, like I'm not like one of the things is I seen like with Mad Max, he's there, he's talking about it and all that kinds of stuff, and the one thing he keeps doing is with just like with the name calling, like he keeps calling, like he was for a while, when he's sitting there talking about like Odin's movie blog, he's sitting there calling him a bitch, and he's calling Josiah Rises like Josiah Rises and all this kind of stuff like that. I like that's the kind of stuff I could do without. I mean, we're already sitting there tearing apart their video.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We're grown men here. Like,
Right.
you talk to me like a man. Like, don't be one of these kids insulting you. Like, yeah, man.
Right, because at that point, it's like all you're really doing is trying to get attention by name calling and getting people to come to your channel. Like you can ask, I'm sure you could probably go to ask Josiah Rises to come to your channel and talk about it without calling him Josiah. You know what I mean? Or or you can get Odin to come to your channel without calling him a bitch. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. These are just regular dudes like me, like you. They have jobs, they have families, they have everyday lives. They're not just on YouTube for a career. So I'm sure you could. It's easy to reach out to them and be like, hey man, like I want to talk to you about this video you made. Would you mind coming on the show? But
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe I just have different methods. I don't know.
Yeah, we do. We're different people.
But yeah. But yeah, I seen that video yesterday. I'm like, oh man. I was like, dang it! Now I've got to go watch this video. I've got to do a reaction on it. And like I said, like I'm not against going to watch the video because just because I'm not subscribed to a channel doesn't mean I don't go to their channel and watch their videos. Like hell, I've talked about that here on the channel plenty. Like I love Ethan Van Sciver. Dude's hilarious. He cracks me up in his videos and in the live streams that I've seen him do. But I don't subscribe to his channel. For one, he's a big channel, and I doubt he's gonna be upset that I don't subscribe to him. But he don't put out enough consistent content that I like watching. So it's pointless for me to have them on my subscription and for me to be one of the subscribers when I don't watch their content regularly enough. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I watch people I'm not subscribed to because they either put out too many videos or they drop videos I'm not interested in. I mean, even when I look at my statistics, I see people searching Lonely Banter all the time. So there's people that watches my stuff that ain't subscribed to me. They just want to see certain stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
yeah, and that's something I need to get more into here is looking into like analytics and stuff like that. I'm not that great at it, but I do know at one point when my channel was really small, when I was first, it was probably around I think it was around January, February. I had this guy who was trolling on the channel, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I knew who it was. And lo and behold, I dig into my analytics, and for one, the term Second Street Marvel through because I was digging in there, was at the top of the list for things that were searched for my channel. It was bringing me a lot of traffic or whatnot. And I'm like, okay, for one, I don't even think I had 100 subscribers. Who the hell is searching for my channel? So I'm like, I know it could only be this one guy because he had several different accounts that he was using, and he may have had a friend in on it too. Maybe him and his wife were both doing, or him and his cousin, or who knows? I don't know. Maybe they were the same person.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing a stream that just talks straight about YouTube analytics and how to use this stuff. I've been thinking about it.
You probably should because I'm not good at it. So I dug into my analytics far enough to see that for one, the Second Street Marvel was the top search term for my channel that was bringing me the most traffic. I'm like, okay, for one, my channel's not that big, bro. I'm under 100 subscribers, so I know there's not that many people looking for me. And then two, I think somehow I narrowed it down to the location in the United States where it was coming from, and it was all coming from the same general location where this person lived at.
Yeah.
So
you got a stalker.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so obviously this search term, my channel name search term is clear at the top, and all my traffic for my channel seems to be coming from this one location. It can only be this one person.
Yeah, you got haters.
Well, I got rid of them pretty quick, but
yeah.
I put him on blast in this because it was somebody that's part of this Facebook group that I'm in, this this YouTube comic YouTubers Facebook group
Yeah.
um that I'm part of, and I seen all that. I seen all that, and I put him in blast in that group, and oh, he was pissed.
I bet.
he, he was pissed.
He
And
definitely blocked you.
yeah. And all that happened, and there was kind of some drama. A lot of the guys in the group like, hey guys, like just calm down, stuff down. I'm like, I'm calm. I'm just really putting him on blast to let you guys know this is what's going on. And I was like, and I left the group. I'm like, hey, it's all good. Like, I'm not mad at anybody or whatever. Like, this just isn't for me. I'm just distance. I just want to let you guys know, and I'm going to distance myself from this person. And I left the group. Well, I'm telling you, not even a week later. Not even a week later, one of the guys messaged me back like, "Hey, bro, like if you want to come back and join the group, that'd be great." We actually noticed we all kind of started experiencing the same problems with this same guy, so we booted him from the group. And I'm, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that dude was mad at me about that, but I'm like, I didn't ask him to do that. That's not my thing. I just kind of washed my hands of the situation and left. Like, hey, whatever. I don't want to. I'm not here for that. I'm just here to be a nerd, have fun, and share the stuff that I love.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have time to go onto other people's channels trolling and all of that stuff and giving them a hard time. Like, I mean, I bust people's chops in the comments. Like I go to Drunk 3PO's channel and I leave jokes in there like, oh man, just things like that, and and stuff like that, and that's he's like, oh man, you're our greatest troll. Like, I like having fun. I'm not actually out there to troll people and be a jerk or garner myself attention in that sort of way. But I don't know. Certainly, some people are.
Hey man, got to have fun on this thing. There's too many crazy people out there in the world. Too much nonsense going on, man. Got to have fun on YouTube.
Definitely. And believe me, believe me when I say that, I could actually go out there and I could make a lot of videos about a lot of channels about people talking about stuff that they don't know about and get myself a lot of attention and create the drama. That's no problem. I have no problem doing that as well, but
it's easy.
That's not what I want to do on my channel.
Man, trust me, it's easy. Like, it's easy to do. Like, the Eminem video, I could do that on a regular basis. I could do that every single day and get so many subs and blow up. But it's just like, man, I don't want to do that. It gets old. It gets old just trolling people. Like,
right.
Like, whatever, man. I want to make good content that makes people think and interact in positive ways sometimes.
Right. For the most part. Now, speaking of which, okay, let's go ahead and move on into Bad Boys 2. Did you...
3.
Bad Boys 3, yeah, I'm sorry. See, it's because these sequels are all so spaced out apart, you know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to keep all this stuff straight?
Hey, man, we're getting up there in age, so, it's tough.
Yeah. Hey, what do you mean we're getting up there? Are you looking at all that peppered in stuff? That's Touch of Grey. I've been using that by Menon. So, like, no, we're not sponsored by them, but I swear this is all fake. It's not real.
Hey, we saw your first stream ever. We know you got that.
The stress has gotten to me, kind of like the stress got to Obama. Remember, he went in there looking all Denzel, and he come out walking looking all Sidney Poitier.
By his first White House portrait, he had great hair and everything.
I know, right? But, okay, so Bad Boys for Life. Did you get a chance to see it, LB?
I did not see this, and this is 100% your fault. The reason why, you didn't tell me when you was going to see it, and then you DM'd me like, yeah, I just got out of seeing Bad Boys 3 Saturday evening. It's like, it would have been nice if you told me. But no, that's cool, I can listen to you talk, I can ask questions, get the best review out of you possible.
All right, my bad, man. Yeah, I thought the and I guess that's the thing is more clear communication was we were just gonna go see it over this last weekend and talk about it. But when you get a chance to see it, we'll go ahead and talk about this, talk about it some more. I mean, even if it's this weekend, it's fine because I've been starting to do some live streams here on the weekend.
Yeah, all you had to say was like, hey, I'm going to see this movie this time on this day, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go to the theater in an hour. Boom.
All right. Well, that's my bad. Again, communication things, but
hey, you're a popular man, so it's all good, man. It's all good. Always forget about the lonely man. It's all right.
Oh man, are we bringing up last Tuesday again?
Forever.
LB's
For
been on a mission to cancel me, to get me canceled. You know how this
hey,
culture is.
I'm going to make it work somehow.
But so, what are your thoughts about just from what you've heard about the Bad Boys for Life? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I was actually surprised by reviews I saw by people I actually trust to give good reviews because it worried me about this movie that it was coming out in January and there wasn't really much buzz about the movie. But then I saw the reviews and everybody was giving it positive reviews. And it's like they basically took, the typical action movie like Fast and Furious, but flipped it into a comedy movie. So it's like you can't take what they're doing so serious because it's a comedy movie. I was like, oh, okay. And like I said, I'm shocked that people was giving it positive reviews. I was expecting it to be a dumpster fire. But
Yeah,
no.
and I was gonna say, and that's the kind of thing. Like when I was going into it, like even seeing the trailers, I was kind of like, no, this movie looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be, it look just kind of like it fits in line with the other two that came out before. But I was still kind of hesitant because thinking about how a lot of the movies are these days, and just things like that. Like because it's like it's not a reboot, but it's a sequel, and we know how a lot of sequels seem to come out these days. What were your
Yeah.
thoughts on what were your expectations, or what are your expectations before you go to see the film?
Um, I mean, I want it to be more like the first one because I mean, the second one was too long, man. And then I looked up the runtime, and I think this is a little bit over 2 hours, like 2 minutes maybe. So it's like, oh, okay, this is closer to the first Bad Boys, which was like 90 minutes. So I'm like, okay, that works for me. Not a 2.5 hour Bad Boys movie. Um, and I'm glad to see that this wasn't the Will Smith show, and Martin Lawrence just happens to be in the movie because I'm not the biggest Will Smith fan over the past decade or so. So like, I'm happy to see this is actually a Bad Boys team up movie and not just some, like I said, Will Smith and some other people.
Yeah, and I guess I was kind of hoping the same thing too, because I mean, it seems like Martin Lawrence hasn't done anything in like a really long time.
Yeah.
And then you see they're coming back to do this movie, and I guess one of my other first thoughts going into it was like, I wonder if this is one of those jobs where Martin Lawrence is like, hey man, I need a payday. Will Smith, can we make this happen?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it's because Will Smith hasn't been doing so great in at the box office that he just decided, okay, I know you've been begging me for like 15 years to do this movie. Let's get this out the way.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I thought the movie itself is really good, and one of the biggest takeaway I had coming out of it was there was two things. There was two things, and amongst those is one, like the movie seemed to really it's it really seemed like it was bringing it back to one of those, like a Michael Bay film. I mean, it seemed like one of those earlier Michael Bay films, just like the original Bad Boys was, and even Bad Boys 2. Just seeing the movie, like, okay, it seemed like the same kind of cinematic action, the same kind of drama, and even the same kind of humor seemed to be very present in this movie. And I thought that was very refreshing to see, because that was my second takeaway from going to watch the movie is, we don't get these kind of movies anymore. Like, it seems like it's a type of film that is very, very 90s. Like, because it seems like these kind of movies really only existed in the 90s. Like, the 80s was a lead up to it, but the 90s is when a lot of the sequels started coming out. More franchises were doing sequels and things like that. And it seems like, once we got here into the new millennium, we've gotten a lot less of these kind of movies, to the point where I was even thinking, and I even said that in my review, that like this movie, it's not even like a Rush Hour movie, because Rush Hour movies are even different from what Bad Boys was, even though it's still a buddy cop film.
Right. So for those that are like 15 years old watching right now, when you say 90s movie, explain to us, like, what do you mean by that? Like the campiness and just the crazy action sequences.
Yeah. Yeah, as I'm saying, that was the cool thing, was like this movie. I think that's maybe one of the things where it didn't have it wasn't so Michael Bay-esque, where it didn't have a lot of those over-the-top action sequences and stuff like that, because it seems like that's what we get from a Michael Bay movie, is just all that kind of, big like explosion, just all that kinds of stuff. And this movie wasn't necessarily that.
Right.
I think one of the great things about this movie was something that I think was really great about. I didn't see this last Rambo film, but the one that came out before that. One of the things I thought was really great about it was they set the movie up. You like it starts off kind of with some fast paced action and stuff like that. You think you're in the middle of a certain situation, and it ends up not being that. It ends up just being kind of a lighthearted situation. It's really fun. And then during the course of that, you get the buildup, the kind of introduction to these to the villains of the movie. Kind of get to know who they are a little bit and what's going on and what kind of somewhat what their motivations are. And then like almost immediately, like as right as you're getting that, you just get like these gut punches of how bad and ruthless these new enemies are in the movie. And like it really hits hard. Like you're like, man, like these people are some really bad people. And I felt that was something that was done in that last, and I'm not, like I said, I didn't see this last Rambo film, but the Rambo film before that, when he went, oh God, was he in Burma? And they set up those bad guys like right at the very beginning. Like, holy crap! Like these people are the worst of the worst.
Yeah, that was the one that came out like right after that Rambo sequel. That one you're talking about, like in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I want to say so. Yeah.
Man, I love that movie. Like that was extra violent.
Yeah, it was too. And it was so great because that was one of the things, like throughout the movie, you see like a lot of the movies these days, they set up a villain, and a lot of times it'll be like, okay, this is a bad person, but they have you can be somewhat sympathetic because you can kind of see what their aim is, what their goal is, or why they're doing what they're doing. And in that Rambo movie, like they set it up like there's no redeeming these people.
Right.
These are the bottom feeders of society. They just happen to have a lot of guns and a lot of power and influence with the people that they're in control of.
Yeah, we need more of that with these villains, man. I'm tired of these villains. Like, oh yeah, I can understand why they're bad. No, we don't need that. We need villains that are villains.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the important things is one of the things I do like, because I mean that's something that seems like the MCU does a whole lot, is making those villains that seem very like sympathetic, you understand why Ultron was doing what he was doing. You understand Killmonger and what his motivations were. Like you can somewhat relate to him, but I think that's just through the circumstance that they happen to be in, that turn them to bad guys and things like that. Where like in these movies, in like that Rambo movie, like there's these people are just bad people. There was no rhyme or reason. They're just turds.
Right.
They're the pigs of society.
Now for me, I don't want like a villain to be the villain of the week, the twirling the mustache thing. But like, there's nothing wrong with that sometimes. But sometimes I want a villain. Like, for example, in real life, there's just people that are bad, man. Like, some people just bad, just to be bad. I want that. I want more of that. Like,
yeah.
Don't tell me that they're bad because their puppy got stolen when they was in 3rd grade. They just they just grew up and just was bad, man, just because.
Yeah.
Like my shirt, because.
I'm mad because Tony Stark's dad stole my technology, and now I'm gonna go out and try to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's see. General Zod's Phantom Zone says Michael Bay bowed out. I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, he didn't do the 3rd movie.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I know he didn't direct this 3rd one, but I didn't know that he was actually in. I didn't know that he was actually wanting to be a part of it, because he does have a cameo in the movie, and I honestly didn't know that he was. I'm not sure if he was on board with it and then he bailed, or what the deal was. I have to look into that.
My only guess that why he didn't do the 3rd movie is because the money wasn't right. Because the budget was way lower than the 2nd one.
Yeah, and I'm not really for sure about what all the numbers are when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because I can tell you, like, this movie, it doesn't have like a whole bunch of special effects or anything like that, but it looks like it's all done really practical. And I gotta say, like, the action and the humor and everything like that, it really does measure up to those ones that Michael Bay done. In '95 and even the sequel in 2003. I mean, it really lines right up with those, and I think that's for one, I think that's a huge, I guess tipping my hat to the directors of this film that I've never seen their work before, but it is two directors, and they did a hell of a job coming in and directing this movie and making it fit right in there with the movies that have come before it. It wasn't on a bigger, larger scale. It wasn't trying to be funnier. It wasn't trying to be more action packed. It just fit really well right in there as a next installment in the franchise.
So let me ask you this: after being away from the Bad Boys world for what 17 years, did it take you a while to get back into the feeling of watching a Bad Boys movie, or was it just like you went back in, you was already locked in? This felt like Bad Boys immediately.
It actually felt like Bad Boys immediately. It did because, and that was the thing I liked about, say like the first 20 minutes or so of the film is they did this really good job in setting it up because you kind of get thrown right into the action at the very start of the movie. You kind of get the guys, having some of that witty banter going back and forth, and then then the situation slows down. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we weren't quite where we were in the first place. It's not like an ultra serious situation here. And then they do just several different callbacks to the first and second movie, and there's some of them that are really, really hilarious. And you also get the feeling that these guys have been together, working together for these 25 plus years, in doing this, and they do a lot to play around with that and just kind of rekindling their your relationship to them in the movie, bringing you in back into that world, because like immediately, like I found myself smiling, kind of like, okay, like, hey, like it's kind of like we never left off, like this maybe happened a handful of years after the sequel.
Right, right.
So I thought that was nice, and then at the same time, like I said, it really jumped in and introduced the bad guys of the film, in that great way too, and kind of really did set that tone for a great movie.
Good, good. I mean, that's good to hear because they've been these movies that come back and make a sequel 20 years later, and it just doesn't feel natural to me.
Right.
Example: Dumb and Dumber 2. Just like let's forget
But,
about that movie.
which one are you talking about when it comes
Oh,
to Dumb and Dumber?
the one Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels returned to do.
Okay, and I got to remember, I'm not for sure if I actually even watched that one,
Don't.
because I think after I watched When Harry Met Lloyd, I was kind of like, man, I don't know, do I need to watch another one of these?
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself.
But yeah, this one it's really good in setting that back up, bringing us right back into the world and moving forward with that. And it didn't seem out of place neither. It didn't seem like they were just doing this just to do it. It seemed like a good logical step in a sequel. It didn't feel unneeded. It didn't feel unneeded.
That's what I like to hear because I mean, like I said, a lot of these sequels they come back and do later on, they just don't make you feel like it was needed, it was natural, it just feels forced. So that's good that the movie sounds like it's back in its element and it's like not having you feel like, man, why did they do this?
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say because that can be kind of rough. Because I mean, you could easily look at take a look at Terminator: Dark Fate. That was
Yeah.
one of those movies like you hop into, and especially by the time you're sitting there watching it, kind of like, why did they do this? Like, was this even necessary?
Yeah.
Aside from what happened at the beginning, where a lot of people had a problem with kind of doing away with all the movies that came before. Aside from that, I mean, like, you get into the movie, it's kind of like, what was really the point in this? Did we really have to go there?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So let me ask you this about the movie. What about all of the side characters? Are they good or are they just there?
A lot of them. I mean, really, There's a few side characters in here. There's not really too many because it seems like everybody in their supporting role did a really good job because like it mainly focuses around obviously the two detectives, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's characters, and the bad guys, and it doesn't really stray from that. We do get supporting characters in there's a new team out there called Ammo, who is just part of, they're a branch of the police squad there that kind of does more deep investigation type of work, and I think they played a pretty important role. I mean, they weren't completely useless, but they also didn't crowd up a lot of a lot of the screen time neither. But I thought they were brought in and worked in a very good way as well, because like there's like I said, a lot of the younger people, and they really played. It was great. That was one of the things I liked about it because the comedy wasn't just there. I guess a lot of it kind of matured with its audience. You know what I mean? Because like I would have been in my teenage years when the first one came out, and then would have been a young adult when the sequel came out, and then now being older. I think a lot of the comedy is kind of geared towards older people like my age. Maybe mid-30s on up through 40s. People who were there to experience the first films. But I think they included enough of the like younger type humor to bring that in, and they did that by way of the older characters interacting with some of the newer characters as well.
So let me ask you this: like, when you say that, do you mean like kind of like making jokes like, "Hey, you're an old man, like those kind of jokes?"
There are some of those. I mean, but not too much, and that's the way I think. That's where it really did good because you see like where you get the two different generations of people coming together, and one of them's like kind of like throwing shade at the other ones, and the other ones are taking it right back like, yeah, okay, like that's not really funny to me, guy, like and they're not being jerks about it. They're just kind of like, all right.
Okay.
I thought it was done really well because like some of the stuff was like the team on Ammo, a lot of them are younger, and like one of the guys like who's the IT guy, the guy who's really knowledgeable on computers and all that kinds of stuff. He's like this big buff dude, like he looks like he could really kick some ass. And he's like the skinny nerd guy, sitting there on the computer, but he's like this big old buff dude. And they make a couple of jokes about that, and later in the movie, a lot of that kind of pays off, and
Yeah.
there are some things in there that they kind of throw in there that they're really humorous, and at the same time, we're kind of like, okay, like I guess you kind of get where this character is coming from with what he said, because at first, you would think like, oh, this dude's just like a big weenie, but but he's not really, like, because he's a very smart guy. He's into his computers and all of that stuff. But then he also has reasons for why he is the way he is, and just kind of the computer IT guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple of other people with their interactions, especially like with Will Smith and this one particular character who keeps kind of they're kind of butting heads the whole time, kind of throwing shade back and forth to each other. But it never got to a point where like they're taking it super personal and they're being jerks to each other. It's none of that. And that's kind of what I liked, because you would think, sometimes seeing movies like that these days, like, oh, great, these people they're going to make a whole bunch of, I'm generation X, and, we've got these millennials over here, and that's the whole clash. It didn't really do any of that.
Okay, nice.
And that was something that was kind of nice to see, because, like these days, that's what it seems like we'd get is a whole lot of, millennials, being rude and mean to these these Gen Xers, and the Gen Xers not liking it and all this kind of stuff. Like they did a lot of that, but not a lot of it, but some of that. But it was just done in the right way with the right tone to where it wasn't really off-putting.
Nice. So as far as that, do you feel like any of the comedy was overdone? Because like a lot of comedy type movies, they overdo it at parts.
I think there was maybe a little bit. There was probably maybe a little bit, and that was in this certain situation that happens in the movie. I want to give it away, but Martin Lawrence's character is doing this whole like, oh, I'm sorry, God, if you can just do this for me, just kind of making this. I wouldn't say they're necessarily joking about religion, but just some of the jokes that they did with it seemed a little overplayed. In a couple of scenes, like they just took it a little too far. Like okay, like we get it, but it wasn't something that they ended up beating into the ground throughout the whole movie. It was just through a couple of like maybe two different sequences in the movie where they did it, and they didn't spend too long there. It was just something they just kind of did, and then moved forward.
Nice, nice. So I know you love everything. So is there anything that you did not love?
Yes, and this is something I definitely wanted to bring up. Like to me, the biggest downfall of this movie is that it's just too long. Yeah, I mean, it's just sitting just over 2 hours, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's a little bit too long for this movie. And while I was sitting there watching the movie, I was aware of it. I'm like, man, this movie seems like it's being a little bit too long here. They could probably easily cut out 20 minutes of the movie and you wouldn't miss it. But at the same time, the pacing of the film with the dramatic moments, the humorous moments, and just any of the action and all that kinds of stuff, it all balanced out really well. But even sitting there, I was like, it just seems a little bit too long for what this movie needed to be.
Interesting. So you think because I'm looking at the runtime now. The runtime of the first Bad Boys is 1 hour and 59 minutes. So just under 2 hours. So you feel like it could have been around 90 minutes?
Maybe a little more than that. I mean, it's really hard to say because, like I said, some of this stuff felt like it didn't have to be there, and then that was the hard thing. The tough thing about it was like some of this stuff doesn't have to be there, but it's not like it doesn't add to the movie neither. Just certain interactions and certain things that happen where I just feel like some of it probably could have just been cut out for pacing reasons and just to make the movie just a little bit shorter because a movie like this, I mean, because it's not like there's some big overarching narrative that needs to be told. I mean, it's just an action flick. So, I mean, maybe a little more than 90 minutes, but as many as it is, probably not, over 2 hours worth.
Yeah, I mean that's how I felt about Bad Boys 2 because Bad Boys 2 is close to 2.5 hours. I was just like, man, this is way too long.
Right.
It's like every movie don't need to be 2 hours or 2.5 hours, man.
Yeah.
So what was your
Yeah.
favorite? I mean, what was your favorite thing about the movie?
Ooh, my favorite thing about the movie. Um, I think my favorite thing about the movie was the character interaction between the two main characters between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, because they've been working together for 25 years. You can see how they've grown together. They're pretty much family and all of that stuff, and kind of some of the drama that comes in between the two characters within the confines of the film. Some of that kinds of stuff and how it plays, and just kind of like real life scenarios, and just like some of those dramatic things that they get into. I guess kind of like maybe like life philosophies, because that like I'm one of those kind of people. I really love that really deep personable stuff in movies. When they get really deep into like the human psyche and things like that. I really do like that because I think this film did that, where you felt. Like you kind of feel bad that these characters at some point are growing apart and they're fighting with each other, and I feel kind of involved in that. Kind of like, man, like I get it with both of these guys. You know what I mean? Like I get where they're coming from, and I like that really humanizing aspect of movies, and something I definitely like seeing in movies. Is a lot of those kinds of things where we do get more of these human interactions and these human feelings in films like that.
Good, good, good. I mean, sounds like you had a good time with the movie.
Yeah, and again, I think that was something else. Like this movie really, like I said earlier, had that really '90s feel to it, and we just don't get movies like this anymore. And apparently, this movie had a great weekend at the box office, as it should.
60 million? Yeah, 60 million.
Yeah, because I think films like this, we need to see more films like this. Studios need to take more chances with films like this. But at the same time, I'm not sure that there's any other like franchises that they want to bring back, because it doesn't have to be a sequel. It doesn't have to be a reboot. But it would be nice to see people make more new movies like this. Because like I said, even this movie, it had such a 90s feel that it doesn't even feel like Rush Hour. It's still separate from that.
Yeah, man.
Where you get just like this great balance of like the humor, the drama, and the action.
Yeah, man. I miss those kind of movies like Face Off, for example. Like we don't get movies like that anymore, man. Like
Right.
there's nothing wrong with making campy action movies with a bunch of explosions and shootouts. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But Everything's just not like that anymore. I don't know why they went away from it, but it would be nice to go back to it. You know, everything don't need to be serious action or Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, yeah, and and that's the thing. I think, especially like nowadays, like you just saying, like with the Fast and the Furious stuff, like not everything has to be like so over the top and like big and crazy, and just like it doesn't have to be a big spectacle. Which is something that I even feel like it was Echo Based Network who actually said that when we were streaming with Mad Max one day, is that's largely a downfall of the new the sequel trilogy in Star Wars. Is it's too big scale, it's too large scale. They're trying to like even the Force Awakens, I like the Force Awakens. This is my favorite of the sequel trilogy. But even it's like it's too big. It's like it's a more big spectacle as opposed to what it started off. With the other previous films in the franchise, where you're just getting some kind of slow stories. You kind of get it and introduced to characters, or kind of world building, and you get some great action. It slows down. You get some story. Just you get kind of all of these elements where like then you get into Force Awakens, and I never really thought of it until I heard that from Echo Based Network about how it's just too big. Like they got to escape this planet. So now, like all of a sudden, there's this big old thing. You got TIE fighters shooting in, going after Rey and Finn, and they get into the the Millennium Falcon. They blast off, and it's just like all this big, high, intense action. It's like it doesn't have to be that.
Right, right. I mean, for example, like the Winter Soldier is a perfect example of something that, even though they didn't have the big third act, like it was all based in like one area in Washington D.C. Like everything doesn't need to be an entire country or New York. Like certain things can happen in a zip code of a city. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing ever, and they're doing that too much, man. It's just like every movie got to be the biggest something ever. Like no, man, you can scale it back and just make it something a little bit more intimate.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's something important too, because I like when I heard him say that, when I heard Echo Bay say that, I was like, man, like that's really hitting the nail on the head, because it doesn't have to be big and grand scale, like the original trilogy was just slow and just told a story, nothing big and nothing, big action stuff about it. I mean, it's got action and stuff in it. It just hits all the right beats where like that's not what a movie has to be. Even a movie like Bad Boys for Life, it comes in, and the movies that came before that are those kind of movies that are big explosion action and all that kind of stuff. And this one really matches right up on par with it, but it still balances out enough of those elements to where you're not sitting there with your heart racing the whole time. And like you're saying with the Winter Soldier, I think that's largely been a big thing about with the MCU that they have done so right, and Kevin Feige has done, is within all of the confines of all of their movies, most of them are standalone films. Like you can watch each movie, especially through like the first like two phases of films. You can watch each movie and they stand alone by themselves. They just happen to tie into a larger universe by way of little Easter eggs and things like that that play into another movie. And then you get the big old crossover event like the Avengers, where like Civil War is a little bit different. They had all the characters kind of crossing over into that one. But again, that one was it was a little bit more event based. But again, you could still watch that movie as a standalone film.
Right, right, right. Exactly, man. It's just we need to get back to it, man. Like the $250, not $250, $250 million movie don't have to be made every single time. Hollywood, you can make a small scale action movie like Deadpool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't. I mean, that's the thing, is it doesn't take too much to satisfy us. I mean, reviewers. I mean, it doesn't take too much. But what it is easy for them to do is to turn us away.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. But I'm here asking you all these questions about the movie like this is my stream.
No, it's all good, because I mean it's kind of my fault.
It happens, but I thought it was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure. Anyone in the chat got any questions about it?
Yeah, if you guys got any questions, let us know. We'll probably wrap it up here within the next few minutes. But yeah, I think this is definitely a movie worth going out to see. I don't regret spending, I don't know, I think it was like $10 to go out and see the movie. I thought it was worth every penny. I actually went and even seen it on IMAX. IMAX. It was 2D. I don't think they have it in 3D. But yeah, I thought it was worth every penny, and I would certainly go see it again on the big screen. But I already seen it once. I'll probably just wait for DVD now.
Yeah. If you had to rank them, where does it sit for you in the three movies?
Honestly, I haven't watched the first two in quite a while.
Oh,
Um, but I mean, I feel like the second one was a little more. I guess if anything, a little more unnecessary. Like it was kind of, it was a typical kind of sequel where they're playing on a lot of the stuff from the first movie. Just some of the, I wouldn't say unnecessary humor, but just trying to take the humor to the next step, to the next level, is what it seemed like the second one tried to do. Where this one didn't really do any of that. This one didn't seem like it was trying to be overly funny or anything like that. It just seemed like a really great sequel. So I would say, if anything, it'd probably go, just without having seen all three of them recently, I would probably have to say 1, 3, 2.
nice. So, is there anything woke in the movie?
No, not anything. I wouldn't say anything woke. Now, I will say, and I said this in my review, is they do check all the boxes off. I mean, they might have left one box unchecked, but I don't know. But I mean, they got your black characters. I mean, they're the main characters. You got your Asian characters. They got some Hispanics. They got your white guy. They get and they even got the white guy who's in charge, Joe Pantoliano, who's playing the captain. But I mean, really, the only thing is like, because I know a lot of people look at these kinds of things too, is they're like, oh no, like everybody gets so touchy about, like, oh, they're making white people jokes now, this and that, white people bad, and like, I get some of that stuff too, and a lot of it I think comes down to the way the humor is delivered, the way jokes are delivered. And I kind of feel like that's something that was going on in Bad Boys the whole time anyway. I mean, your two main characters are black, so of course, they're going to make some jokes at the expense of white people.
I mean,
And there was-
I say this all the time. Like, you can get mad about it. Like, if you don't have black friends, white people make jokes about white people all the time.
Right. Yeah, and this movie, like, it didn't really do it. Like, I think they had one white people joke at the very beginning, but again, like, in the situation, everything that was going on, it just worked and it was funny. They didn't try to beat it up or anything, which I was kind of a little bit surprised, having Will Smith in there, and just kind of what he had to do in what was that movie, that trash movie, Suicide Squad, where they did some of those forced white people jokes.
Yeah.
Because like that is a great example exactly of like those kind of jokes done bad. When you watch Suicide Squad, I mean, that whole movie is nothing but mostly bad. But you see how those jokes were delivered in that movie, and it's like, okay, that's not doing it the right way. Where here they just kind of went, they made a funny joke, and it wasn't that bad. And I was like, okay, well, I hope this don't continue like this. We won't get more of that, because they did just that one, and we can move on, and they did, and because there was really plenty of other people to make fun of in this movie, and I think they did that. I think there was a great balance of it.
Yeah. So everybody here, you have to check out the Bad Boys 3 review by Second Street Marvel on his channel. And if you haven't, what's the problem? You gonna say you didn't get notified?
That's right, man. Yeah, and I dropped that yesterday evening. It would have dropped earlier in the day, but I had a video that I had to go and react to, because something, some important news out there for us comic book geeks happened yesterday. I guess I should have made it a hate rage video or something like that. I should have maybe acted like it was Kelly Sue DeConnick coming in to write Captain Marvel 2. Ugh.
Is it the Black Widow comic thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was pretty disappointed in that news, because Black Widow has become one of my favorite comic books, and one of my favorite characters in the comic books, as of last year, when the Soska sisters came in and wrote No Restraints Play,
Hey,
which was an
don't spoil
excellent series.
Don't spoil it. You got to go check out the video on this channel. We ain't giving nothing else away, people.
Yeah, it was it was an excellent series, and now they're bringing in a new writer for that, and a writer that's been, for the most part, pretty lackluster in a lot of the work that I've read. and I have been reading her work, which actually the person in question actually has to do with the video that I have to do a video on now that Mad Max was talking about yesterday on his show as well.
I look forward to it. I mean, you know,
Um,
I want to hear your perspective on this stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'll save it for the Trailer Park Live, since that's where I tend to cut loose a little bit more. But hey, who knows? I mean,
Nah,
maybe,
man, strike while the iron is hot.
yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I need to do like a Trailer Park Live hot take or something like that.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
or
Breaking
what would I
Trailer
call
Park
it?
News Live.
Yeah, or maybe make it Welcome to the Trailer Park.
Yeah, you got to do it because I mean, you know how YouTube go. The algorithm.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing. Maybe I should have live stream. Maybe I should have live streamed my reaction to Mad Max's reaction to go into my reaction.
Hey, why not? Why not?
But anyway, guys, we're here getting ready to hit 9:30. Been going here for about an hour and 20 minutes. But so we're gonna go ahead and get ready to call it a day here. But LB, what let everybody know where they can find you and what you've got coming up on your channel.
You can find me on the Lonely Banter. Yes, a very lonely place where you're always welcome, as long as you don't come into my safe space, which is right here in my cave. Which I'm going to probably be moving into a cabin soon because all the Eminem fans that are black call me Uncle Tom and all that stuff. But hey, it is what it is. I appreciate you letting me come chat with you this Tuesday morning. My man Trinity, 2nd Street Marvel, and it was great interacting with all you people in the chat. And remember, you have a Bad Boys 3 review to go watch and that Black Widow comic book news to go watch. Even if you don't watch comics, play the video and put it on mute.
Hey, well, are you trying to silence me?
Yes, that's what I'm trying. I told you it's cancel Trinity and boycott 2nd Street Marvel. So there you go.
Oh, dang it. All right. Yeah, guys, definitely make sure that you go check out LB over at the Lonely Banter. I can't even remember how I found his channel. It's probably through a Captain Marvel video, but, kind of been on board ever since. LB's a great guy, has a great perspective. I like the way he speaks and, even the way he handles his trolls and things like that as well.
Hold on. You say you like the way I speak? Apparently I can't talk.
Well, yeah, I guess it's all subjective. But, are you going to move into the little shack that Slim Shady had on his second album? Is that...
I could consider that a cabin. Yeah, I could. Maybe.
But all right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you all. I might have some other videos dropping today, but if not, we'll see you all tomorrow morning on the Morning Movie Chat. You all take it easy and have a great rest of your day. Later.